Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Sunday, September the 7th, 2025. And as you can see again, I'm not walking. I'm sitting on my back porch because it is teeming with rain again. Has been the case a few times recently. So little Neil is still tucked up in bed, has no desire to get out. Again, he sort of looked at me and said, yeah, no, sorry, not today. But it has been pouring all night. So unfortunately, the last walking boxing before I go away is unfortunately sitting here. But the show must go on. Not a lot happening, I will say, either. So I've got just a few topics. I've been sent actually a few questions and a few things that from you guys, the viewers out there, who would like me to cover a couple of things. So when there's not a lot going on, I've always got a couple of topics just sort of tucked away, just to keep the show sort of rolling and give us something to talk about. It's pretty hard sometimes actually to talk every single day about boxing, and when there's not a lot of news on, we've got to come up with some different things. So I really appreciate everyone that sends me questions, sends me things they'd like to talk about. And as I said, I've got a couple of things today. And I did do the top 25. I think I talked about it about 3 days ago, and I said I would do a list. So I've done one anyway, and we'll go through that one. But firstly, on this day, September 7th. Now, the first one, it's the WBC World Fair Play Day. Now, I don't know exactly what it is, whether they do it every year. This goes back to about 5 or 6 years. I've got an article here from 2020, so what was that, in the middle of COVID? But from all accounts, they've done it every single year, and it's about encouraging, fair play. Everyone getting along and doing the right thing and treating everyone with respect and all this sort of stuff, which is, I'm not sure whether you need a day to actually celebrate it. It should be something we sort of do every day, and part of human nature, I suppose. But the one thing that really made me laugh is one of the people that actually commented on this was a referee by the name of Carlos Padilla. Now, Carlos Padilla is what would you call it? It was a Hall of Fame referee. I remember he refereed the likes of, I remember him actually specifically refereeing Hearns Duran too, but he's also refereed many other big fights, including, I think, Ali Fraser 3, but he's been a referee for a long, long time. But the reason he's infamous, especially to us Aussies, is he actually also refereed Manny Pacquiao versus Nadal Skinny Hussein. And if you remember, he's actually came out and admitted that when Skinny Hussein knocked Manny Pacquiao down with a stiff jab, wasn't even really a hook, it was just a really stiff jab, and Manny looked gone, that he did everything he could to give Manny time to get up and recover with a long count and sending Skinny back to the corner, all this sort of stuff. And of course, then Skinny Hussein got the cut, and referee Carlos Padilla, in conjunction with the doctor, they took the opportunity and were like, yeah, let's call this off. And they really cost Nadal Skinny Hussein a knockout win over Manny Pacquiao. So I just find it interesting here that he's commented. He's president of the Mexican Olympic Committee. So I'm hoping this is the right guy, because he's actually Filipino. But one of the objectives of fair play is to avoid as much possible all kinds of conducts or behaviours that harm the sport, while encouraging by example that society adopts these ethics. So if it is the same Carlos Padilla, and it doesn't say anywhere that it's not, but this is, I don't know where the Mexican Olympic Committee comes in, because as I said, he's Filipino. But Carlos Padilla, if that is him, that is the referee from the Philippines. A little bit hypocritical from Carlos Padilla about fair play. But anyway, we'll move on. Another couple of things on this day. Back in 1892, James J. Corbett knocked out John L. Sullivan, so two all-time great heavyweights, in round 21 to win the heavyweight championship in front of 10,000 people in New Orleans. So it says here Corbett was a 4-1 underdog, and as I said, won that fight in round 21. Then in 1996, Mike Tyson stopped Bruce Seldon in the first round to win the WBA heavyweight title in front of 9,500 at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas. That's interesting. It's only 9,500 people there, which probably means they didn't have the top tier actually open for a Mike Tyson fight. That is weird. So Seldon was a 22-1 underdog, and this was Mike Tyson. I think it was his third fight back Oh no, this was a unification fight. I think he'd beaten Frank Bruno before this. I think he had 3 sort of fights really quick after coming out of jail. He'd beaten Frank Bruno by first round knockout and then beat Bruce Seldon by first round knockout to put the WBA belt with that WBC belt before losing it, was it the following year to Evander Holyfield. So that's what happened on this day. All right, so on to the news, and not a lot happening. Of course, we're 1 week out from Canelo and Crawford. Can you believe that it's now come around so quick? And tomorrow, of course, I'm off. Hence the reason why this is the last episode. I'll see how we go. I might squeeze one in tomorrow. I've got to leave by about 9 o'clock, so it just depends on how much I actually get today and whether I'm organised and packed and ready. But we'll see. But one thing that really struck me in the last sort of 24 hours, Terence Crawford actually released photos of himself sort of posed up at the 168 sort of pound limit. He's probably got a little bit more to lose, but geez, to look at this guy from what he was as a lightweight through to 140 to 147, even to 154, now to 168. Wow. And it depends on what side you're looking at. I saw reactions to it. There was a couple of reactions of, no, he looks too big. Looks like he's gone way too far and beefed up way too much. And it's not going to benefit him in the ring against Canelo. Then you got the flip side saying, geez, look how easily he looks like he's packed on the weight and how good he looks and still how lean he looks. I mean, he's got a 6-pack from hell on the rig. So he looks really, really good. So in my opinion, I'm struggling to really, excuse the wind here, guys, if it's coming through. It's a little bit of gale force winds coming through at the moment. But I really couldn't make up my mind of which side of the fence I was on, because while he looks fantastic, like bulk-wise, it's really hard to tell until he's actually in the ring what effect that's going to have as far as his speed, his movement, his strength. I think there'll be no doubt he'll be strong. And I think it's interesting also listening to what Bomac, his trainer, McIntyre, had to say, as well as reading some articles about it. He's been pretty consistent in that he thinks that Terence Crawford could have been at 168 years ago. And he said he's always held him back. Now, you just got to wonder how much weight cut that Terence Crawford was actually doing if he was getting down to 140, 147. I didn't think he ever looked like he did weight that hard, but I think what he was probably more saying, he's got the frame to fill out. But I expected, and again, we haven't seen him in the ring, let alone the weigh-in or anything like that yet, but I was expecting to see Terence thicker and maybe just look a little bit out of proportion. Maybe look a little bit top-heavy, or because you don't know where you're going to put the weight on. Sometimes if you bulk up, it can be all up the top, or it could actually be down below around your hips. So I just think he looks really, really good all over at the moment. And as I said, I'm probably not convinced whether it's going to be beneficial to him to be so beefed up. But I mean, when you go up that much weight, it's obviously going to happen that you're going to bulk out. So it's really added a level of intrigue to me. I think I think he's going to give a very, very good show. I really do. The way he hasn't said it a lot. I know at the moment there's a series on Netflix, so make sure you check that out, like a 24/7 type of thing. And he's very, very confident about just everything. And sometimes I know a lot of fighters do this, and they almost try and talk themselves and us into believing they can win. The way Terence Crawford is talking and looking, his body language, all that sort of stuff, he's here to win. He's here to win. So, look, I'm certainly not going to get sucked in, though, by it's going to be enough to beat Canelo Alvarez, because we are, after all, talking about Canelo Alvarez, and he's been in against the absolute best of a couple of generations and beaten them all bar one or two. So I'm not getting sucked in, but I am really intrigued and excited now about this fight. I think once they square off together, I think we're all going to be surprised at how even they are as far as size goes. And remember, Terence Crawford is actually an inch or two taller than Canelo Alvarez. So if he carries that weight pretty well, he's actually going to look like the bigger man, which is something I think we never thought we would say. But yeah, Yeah, it's definitely going to be one hell of a day, and as I said, I can't wait to get over there and be part of Fight Week. Now, Fight Week, by the way, I got I saw a message yesterday, so I'm sure this will be all over social media soon, but it's going to be a big week. So Tuesday is the grand arrivals. The only downside about this is I thought I was being clever by booking the Luxor, which is right at the back of not T-Mobile, Allegiant Stadium. It's about a 5 to 10 minute walk, so it's perfectly placed to be just to the venue and back on fight night. And I think I've said on here before, fight night in Las Vegas or any Saturday night is just absolute pandemonium, and you don't want to be getting Ubers and taxis and even walking places. There's people everywhere, cars and everything. So I thought I'd be smart and get the Luxor, which is, as I said, a 5 or 10 minute walk. So it's going to be great for fight night, but not great for the rest of the week. And when the weather looks like it's still in the mid-30s at the moment, it's going to be quite a walk down the strip. But on Tuesday, they've got the grand arrivals, but it's at the Fontainebleau Las Vegas, which is at the other end of the strip. So it's probably going to be nearly an hour's walk to get down there. Now, the only thing I'm thinking is that maybe because it's Tuesday, it'll be probably pretty quiet still in Vegas that time of week, so might be safe to get an Uber down. But I looked at it and went, you've got to be kidding me, don't you, that it's at the other end of the strip. Then on Wednesday, September 10th, is the open workouts, also at the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas. So another lengthy trip down the strip. This is a little bit better. Thursday, September the 11th, is the press conference. Now, this will be at T-Mobile Arena, which is probably about a 15-minute walk, so I don't mind that one. That will be fine. It's going to be great to have normally with the press conference, they lock out the fans. So I'm really happy with the fact that they've decided to just open this up to everybody. So this will be at T-Mobile. By Thursday, most people will be in there. There'll probably be 10,000 people there for the press conference, which will just be crazy. Then on Friday is the weigh-ins, or the ceremonial weigh-ins. They're at T-Mobile Arena, so not too bad there as well. So that's at 6 p.m. On Friday, September the 12th, which will be probably about 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning here on the Saturday. So really good time for us back here, or for you guys watching back here. Then of course September the 13th, the fights start at 2:30. The doors open at 1:30 at Allegiant Stadium. So just can't wait to get over there and experience all this. And again, really glad that they've just opened up, because normally you get over there and they close the doors for press conferences. Even with the weigh-ins, I did hear last year when Tim Tszyu fought Sebastian Fundora for that first fight, they locked out the fans over there, which I just think is criminal. It really is. They shouldn't do that. As I said, I think it's great that they've just opened it up for all concerned. All right, so on to a couple of things. Let's get into the top 25. I'm going to quickly run through this because I've had a couple of people say, "Oh, you promised us the top 25." All right, I'll give you my top 25. I've actually gone for Ricky Hatton at number 25. I think he did some really good work till he was beaten by Mayweather and Pacquiao. I think he fought a lot of really good fighters, defended the belts, won belts, all that sort of stuff. On the edge, but I've put him in there. I think I might have put him in there above maybe Winky Wright, I think, and that might upset a few. But I've got Ricky Hatton in there. I think what he's done for boxing up until the Pacquiao fight in 2009, I've slipped him in there. But I've got Katie Taylor at 24, Anthony Joshua at 23. He wasn't in the ESPN 23 or top 25. I don't think you could not have Anthony Joshua in there, could you? But at 23, Tyson Fury at 22, Vitaly Klitschko at 21. Shane Mosley, I was surprised he didn't get a gig in the ESPN top 25, so I've slipped him in at number 20. I think I've got that right, 25, 24, 23, 22, 25. So number 20, Miguel Cotto at 19, Costa Tszyu at 18. I can't believe he wasn't in there either. I know he only had about 5 years in the 2000s as a ruler, but geez, I mean, just that Zab Judah fight in 2023, plus Shampa Mitchell and all these other fights, Jesse James Leha, I think you've got to have Costa Tszyu in there at number 18. Eric Morales at 17. Marco Antonio Barrera, what did I say there? 2019, 18, so 16. Marco Antonio Barrera. Naoya Inoue I've got at 15. I just think it's a little bit early to have him in the top 10 after what a lot of fighters did earlier in the century. Look, by the next 25, we'll probably be in the top 3. But I just think a lot of these fighters above him, the resume is far better than Naoya Inoue. He's been an absolute dynamo. but I just don't think he's had any legacy wins yet, and that's why I've got him at number 15. Chocolatito Gonzalez at number 14, Juan Manuel Marquez at 13, Andre Ward at number 12, Joe Calzaghe at 11, Vasily Lomachenko at number 10, Terence Crawford at number 9, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin at number 8, Oscar De La Hoya at number 7. I think they might have had him at number 15, but I think his resume, even in the 2000, I know was it up to 2008, but geez, those sort of 6 years before he lost to Hopkins and then Pacquiao, geez, he was in some great fights. I just think his resume holds tight. So I've got him at number 7. Here comes the wind again. Bernard Hopkins at number 6. I know ESPN had him at number 3, but I got him at number 6. Little bit contentious, this one. Roy Jones Jr., I got at number 5. I just think, I know we all sort of remember the last part of his career, but geez, the early 2000s, I know the late 90s were probably his time, but the early 2000s, I still think he was at his best. So I've got him at number 5. Alexander Usyk at number 4. I've got Canelo Alvarez at number 3. I don't know how he could be anywhere but the top 3 or 4. The only loss was to Mayweather and Bivol, and he was probably a little bit unlucky to be in here, but I'm sure he'll be in the next sort of batch. But Canelo Alvarez, I mean, 4-weight world champion. I think he won undisputed in at least 2, if not 3. Just an absolute icon of the sport, right up there with the Oscar De La Hoyas and Pacquiao's and Mayweather's, right up there with them. So I've got him at number 3, and I don't see how you could not have him in the top 3. I know there's some Canelo haters out there, but whatever. I've got him at number 3, and I'm sticking to that. Manny Pacquiao at number 2, and of course Floyd Mayweather at number 1. Need no explanation about why they are number 1 and 2. So that's my top 25 anyway, to all those that wanted me to put that out. Now, the other question I had, one question was what was it? Holyfield and Tyson. They, of course, fought twice in the late 90s, or 90s, was it 97? I think it was, 96, 97. I had a question about who would have won if they actually had fought when they were originally supposed to fight in 1991. Now, you got to remember, Holyfield was coming off, I think, the Foreman fight about then. He'd obviously beaten Bo, but Tyson was coming off the 2 wins over Razor Ruddock, and obviously came out of jail. Still the Iron Mike, I think, that we used to know. Now, again, this will probably cause some friction out there with some of you, but I've got Mike Tyson winning that fight if they fought in 1991. There's my son going to work. I think I've always said that Holyfield had the kryptonite to Mike Tyson, but I just think in 1991, even though Mike had just come out of jail, no, he hadn't gone to jail yet, had he? No, sorry, I take that back. So he lost to Douglas, he'd come back, had a couple of easy wins, and then beat Ruddock twice. I think that Tyson at that point would have been a little bit too strong for Holyfield. I think Holyfield more filled out as the decade went on. And in 1991, I still think he was a small heavyweight. I should have gone to BoxRec to actually check his weight. But I think even though he'd come off that win over Holyfield, I still think that Tyson at that point was more sort of peak Tyson. I know he'd lost to Douglas, but he was still that Iron Mike that we knew and loved. And I just think he might have been a little bit too strong. And his style back then still in sort of 1991 was that he was still busy. He threw a lot of punches, bar the Douglas fight, which I think we all know he went in underprepared mentally and physically. But I just think Holyfield at that point hadn't really filled out to being a really strong, legitimate heavyweight. And I just think Tyson's work rate would have probably matched Holyfield's by then, and his strength would have been a little bit more. So I've got Mike actually winning that fight. Even though when they did fight, the things that brought Mike down were the fact that Holyfield fought 3 minutes of every round. Mike was getting to that sort of lazy point by that stage. I don't think his heart was really in it at that stage of his career, having just come out of jail the year or two before, whatever it might have been. So give me your thoughts on what you think. But I just think Mike Tyson in 91, when it was going to happen, I think Mike Tyson would have beaten Evander Holyfield. Would have been by knockout, maybe not. Very, very hard to stop or knock out Evander Holyfield. As we get another Gus to win there. It would have been a hell of a fight. It would have been one hell of a fight. But I just think Mike, at that point, his peak years, I think he would have, as I said, maybe got over the top by decision over Holyfield in what would have been an awesome fight. The other one was, I've had a couple of people about dream fights. I haven't done it for a little while, I know that. I'll do that, I'll look to do that when I get back. But someone said, we've done a lot of dream fights about different things, but someone said, if you had 4 or 5 dream fights of fighters from whatever era, the top ones, I know I've done lists of 10 and the top 10 of different fights. If on my life I had the 3, 4, 5 of my absolute best dream fights from people or fighters from whatever era, throw them up there, what fights would they be? Now I'm going to do I'm not going to give you my results on this one yet. I'm going to wait till I get back, but these are the fights I would pick. I've only got 4. I'll think of maybe one other one before I get back, so we've got a top 5. These are the 4 if I could have any dream fight ever, regardless of errors or whatever it might be, but I can't have dual fighters in fighting different people. These are just the four at the moment. One of them would be Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard. That would be the chess match of all chess matches. So I've got that at number 1. Well, not actually, I haven't really rated these. It's just whatever order, but Mayweather and Leonard would be the first one. Roberto Duran and Julio Cesar Chavez would be the next one at lightweight. That would be an unbelievable, maybe even 140, but Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez. These are all around the same weight, by the way, and around the same era, so apologies for that, but I'm a little bit, set in my ways as far as my stars. The other one would be Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez. Oh, what a fight that would be. A little bit tricky because De La Hoya's probably best work was at sort of 135 to 147. I've got a meeting at 154, but with all the history behind them as well, how good would it be to have Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez at 154, lock horns? And the other one was Costa Tszyu and Manny Pacquiao at 140. Oh, I think that would be a brilliant fight. So that's just 4. Again, I'm not going to give you my results yet. I'll wait till I get back and I'll think of another one. I might even change one of these up. So I might change one of these up. I'll have a think about it. It might give me something to do on the plane. Have a good think about this. But they're the 4 I've got at the moment. And for the Aussie ones as well, this was a little bit hard, this one, but I've gone for Jeff Fenech, Barry Michael. And also, the obvious one might have been for maybe a Lester Ellis, but I've got Lester Ellis against Robbie Peden. Now, these 4 could have been thrown up in the air, and all these fights would have been great. But I think style-wise, Fenech and Michael, what a fight, in close. Neither one taking a backward step. It just would have been an absolute dogfight for 12 or 15 rounds, whatever it was. So Jeff Fenech, Barry Michael, Lester Ellis and Robbie Peden. Robbie Peden gets forgotten a little bit about his standing in Aussie boxing. Make no mistake, him and Lester would have been a brilliant fight. So I've got Lester and Robbie. Lionel Rose, Johnny Famechon is the obvious one. And then just for one, again, I haven't had a real good think about it, but one that I thought of straight away would be Danny Green and Jeff Harding at 175. I think that would be a ripper. Now, these are just fights I've sort of thought of since sort of last night. I'll have a little bit more think about it, maybe come up with some better fights. But I think I'll go with the top 5. The top 5 international fights of all time and the top 5, the dream fights of all time, and the top 5 Aussie dream fights of all time. So no errors, no nothing, just the best Aussie fighters and the best international fighters of all time matched up regardless of everything. Who would I want to see that? So they're the fights I would like to see. So on that, just if you've got a question or a topic or whatever you might want to throw at me that you want me to cover in these episodes, let me know, because as I said, it gets hard if there's not much happening to talk for 20 to 25 minutes every day about boxing. I love doing it, don't get me wrong, and I'll always think of something to talk about. But if you've got something, by all means, let me know, and I'll bring it up on one of the episodes. So, guys, that's going to do it. I think this will be our last one for, or before I go away. I'll see how it go tomorrow. If it's not raining, maybe I'll get up nice and early and go for a walk and maybe do it. But if not, make sure you keep track of all the daily vlogs while I'm over in Vegas. There'll be one every single day. The first one is normally not very exciting because it's just me traveling and everything. Yeah, tune in every day and keep the questions and comments coming at me, and I'll do my best to reply. And of course, when I'm back The first night I'm back, we'll do a bit of a debrief. We'll do a talking boxing episode, which will be Tuesday the 16th of September. So we'll do one that night and review all the week's shenanigans that we've got up to. I'll also do probably a review of the fight probably the next day at the airport like we did last time as well. So guys, thanks to everyone that's sent me messages of support. It means a lot, and look forward to keeping contact while I'm overseas, and of course touching base when I'm back. So have a good one, and we'll catch you when I'm back.